Hello everyone, welcome to today's Vision 6 Power Session, Set up lead scoring for an email nurture series. My name's Andy, the product trainer here at Vision 6. I'll be taking you through today's session. So firstly, before we get into it, why would you lead score a nurture series? What are some of the benefits of doing so? So one of the main ones is it allows you to monitor your prospects and leads for their engagement, what they're doing inside the emails, what things are of interest, what are they clicking on and going to on your website, that type of thing, to allow you to sort of get a bit of a better picture rather of what they're doing and whether they're worth reaching out to. Are they a high value contact? Are they doing what you would like them to do? Do they fit the ideal customer profile? Those types of things. Similarly, then, it also allows your sales staff to get a bit of an understanding and a good idea as to where those high value leads are, who are the high value leads, and which ones are worth reaching out to. Because you can imagine if you've got sort of a fairly well converting nurture series and a popular one on your website that people are signing up to receive a series of emails, or maybe they're downloading a product and you're sending them an email every day to sort of help them, get through the demo or the trial with a hope to convert them. If you've got heaps of those happening every day, by using a lead scoring system in that nurture series, you can then work out which ones are the high value ones that are worth reaching out to directly, as opposed to just having them all come in and then you go, well, okay, do I start at the top, or which one's the best one to reach out to first? And of course, the ones with high lead scores might be the best ones to reach out to. You can also then use our conditional content feature, which we'll go through briefly at the end, to change parts of the emails for those with a higher score. So you might have 6 emails in your nurture series, one that goes out every 3 days or something like that. But as the nurture series goes on and it progresses, you can begin to swap out content inside the emails for those that have a higher lead score. So say emails 1, 2, and 3, you've got some sort of general information, maybe some links to the pricing page, or maybe they can book a demo with the trainer, similar to what we do here at Vision 6. But you can then use the conditional content feature within emails 4, 5, and 6, for example, to start to change what they see in those emails. If they've shown an interest in converting, they seem pretty keen, they're reading our how-to guides and booking in demos and things like that. In future emails, you could then serve up more information, maybe change the information in the email to be more about pricing, or maybe build some trust with the user and show testimonials and that kind of thing, instead of more generic information, which you might serve to those with a lower lead score. So, or people that just don't meet certain criteria. So with the conditional content, a great way to do that as well. You can have the email automatically start changing and showing different information, text, buttons, pictures, links, and so on with that feature. If you've also got a series of contacts that haven't really engaged after a while, you could send them or filter them into a re-engagement nurture, where again, you send them a couple of emails over time to those contacts that haven't really done anything lately. They haven't clicked, converted, and maybe haven't opened an email. And then based on what they're doing in those emails, you could then decide to remove them. So you might have a couple of almost stale contacts that haven't done much, send them this nurture series again, just to try and re-engage them. But if they don't do anything as a result of that, then you might go, well, they're probably never going to buy from us, or they're never going to do the thing that we want them to do. We'll just remove them from the system and potentially save a bit of money there as well. So you can use it for that type of thing as well, those re-engagement campaigns. So how do we set this up in Vision 6? A couple of steps here, which we'll go through. We also will jump into the product to create these as well in there. But what we won't do is, I won't sort of sit there and build the 3 emails for you, because you'd be there all day watching me do that. So for some of these steps, we do have content that has already been created. So in step 1 there, you have to make sure that you've got the emails ready in your nurture series, because our automation, which is in step 5, will be monitoring those emails for certain activities. So you've got to have the emails ready. Step 2 there is to develop your scoring matrix. This is essentially where you look at those emails you've made in step 1 and go, okay, what are we going to score the different actions? And I've got an example of one of those shortly we can have a look at. Step 3 is to then create your prospect list and subscribe form. Now, of course, it could be a completely empty list because no one's subscribed to it yet, potentially, so that's fine. Just make a new list, and attached to that, we'll make a subscribe form, which would normally be placed on our website or something like that. So essentially what's happening is when people join our list by filling in a form to say, yes, I would like to receive this nurture series, or yes, I want to be educated on why your product is good and why I should potentially buy it. So that form will exist on your website. It will then, the system will then send them the series of emails in the nurture, which we will then score as part of this automation, and that's how the whole process works. Now, step 4 is we need to have a new field on our list to capture the lead score. Pretty easy. We'll just be making a new field, calling it lead score, whatever you want. Lead score is a good example. And then that's what the automation will be updating based on the things that the user does or doesn't do as they receive this nurture series. Step 6, of course, is always to test and check these things. We won't be going through how to do that in very much detail, but essentially all you need to do there is sign up to the list yourself, and then you'll get the email series, start interacting with the messages, and you'll see your own lead score increase as well. And of course, step 7, with anything we do in marketing, always recommend to report on how it's going, measure success, and make improvements and refine over time to see if there's a better way of doing things, or, could the subject in email 3 be a bit better? Let's tweak it, see what happens to the data over the next few months, that kind of thing. So step 1 there is to create the email series. So I've just got 3 emails set up in Vision 6 for our recipe club. The first one sends the first ebook, the second ebook in the second email, and so on. We've got the 3 ebooks there. You'll see in these emails, we've got a couple of call to actions there. We've got the download now button. So that's where they can download each of the 3 ebooks. And also in emails 1, we have a link there for them to buy our cakes or to visit the online store essentially. And email 2, there's a link there to join our VIP club. So just keep that in mind. We've got a couple of different extra links in there, and that comes into play when we look at our scoring matrix. I'll just make this a bit bigger for you briefly there so you can have a look. But essentially what we're doing is, this is what we've decided to score these different things. You can come up with your own matrix for anything really, any sort of scoring system. But essentially we'll be monitoring email 1. If they open that email, we'll increase their score by 1. So essentially all they're doing is just reading the email, opening it, we'll give them a score. That's the same for all emails. If they unsubscribe at any time within this process, we're going to set the lead score to 0, so that if they do come back later on by filling in the form again, they're starting fresh from 0. That's an optional thing. You might want to build on a previous lead score, but in this case, we're just going to set it all to 0 and clear it out. If in email 1, 2, or 3, they click that button to download the PDF and view our ebook, we'll be giving them a score increase of 3. If in email 1 they click the store link, this one here, buy our cakes to visit the store, we'll increase their lead score by 10. Emails 2 and 3 don't have a score link. And if in email 2 they click the button to join our VIP club, we'll increase their score by 20. Now, of course, in this instance, we won't know if they actually go through and join the club, because that might be a form on our website they need to fill out, or maybe they need to make payment or something to join the club. So we won't really know if they've actually gone through and done that. But in this case, what we're doing is we're going to monitor if they click the button here to join our VIP club in email 2, we're going to increase their score by 20. So to save a bit of time today, we're just going to set up these ones here. But the process is very similar for emails 2 and 3. You'll sort of see as we start to get in and do this in Vision 6 that it's sort of, copy and paste almost. You just repeat the process for the other emails. So I've got all these ones set up here, but the 4 we'll be creating today are the ones relating to email 1 here, just to save a bit of time. Step 3 there is to create your list and form in Vision 6. So I've got Vision 6 open here. I'll go into the lists and forms section, and this is relating to our recipe club, because that's where when they subscribe to our recipe club online, they will join this list. That then triggers all the emails to go out. I think it's 1 email a week we've got it set up to send, and this is the one we'll be looking at. So I'll double click in there to go into Forms view, and I've just built a simple form here. If you want to know how to make a new list, you essentially just go and press create a list over here in the lists area. So create a new list. There's a few options in there. You could make a blank list, or even this newsletter subscribers basic. That one's fine as well. I think out of the box that gives you an email address and a first name field. That's pretty standard. That's fine. So you can use that one as well to make a new list. But when we double click on it, we go into Forms view, and this is where you can do things like delete certain fields if you don't need them, rearrange them, change the way the form looks, put your logo in there, and change all the colors, all that kind of thing you can do through here. So just make sure you've got your list created and you've got your form in there with whatever questions you want to ask, the bare minimum being an email address. That's all you need really. But we might personalize our emails with the first name, so I do have that field turned on as well. Now, one thing you'll need to make as per the next step is we need to have a lead score field, because based on what the user's doing in that email, clicking on things, opening it, unsubscribing, etc., we need a lead score field that we can update over time with that kind of information. So one thing I do just need to create is a lead score field here on our list. Now, I've got one already, but I'll just quickly show you how to add it, how to get it there. So we click on Add New Field. We come down a bit and it will be a text field. So we'll click on that one there. You could call it anything you like, so lead score. And the key thing here is in the content type to set it to numeric decimal. That's just the key thing to set that to there. The reason being is that if this is just set to a normal text field, then we can't do smart little calculations on it. But if we tell Vision 6 this is a number field, that unlocks a whole bunch of extra things when we create our automation, and that will become clear in a few moments. Because when the user, say, clicks on the button to view the book, we want to increase their lead score by 1 or 3 or whatever our matrix said. Now, if we set this to just a normal text field, we won't unlock the ability to increase, decrease, change it to 0, all these kind of things. But if we tell Vision 6 it's a number field, it unlocks all those options to increase, decrease, set to, greater than, less than, because those are different sort of calculators and things that you would use for numbers. So key thing just to remember there. So press save, and that will then appear down here on the right hand side. Now, one thing to keep in mind is whenever you make a new field, it will turn it on by default and it will be in your form, but we don't want it there. But we don't want the people to fill out their own lead score. So just one thing to keep in mind is whenever you make new fields, by default, we'll pop them on the form for you, assuming you want them. So what we'll do here is just remove that field and hide it from the form. It's still there on the right hand side, so it exists on our list, which is what we want. We just don't want it on the form. So that's all I've done there. Excellent, that's step 1, 2, 3, and 4 done. Now with step 5, we're going to set up the automation. Now I'm just going to leave this open on my screen because I will need to refer to these scoring numbers here when I do the automation. I'll need to know what the values are, so I'll just leave that matrix open there. So we'll come into the automation section here on the left-hand side, and this is an advanced automation because the advanced ones allow you to do things like change the value on a contact's record, monitor an email for opens and link clicks and those kind of things. So I'll just come into the advanced automation here. And I've got one half started. Again, as I said, I'm only going to work on these ones here. All of these have already been made just to save you from watching me for 20 minutes build this all. So you'll see here I've got the 5 steps for the other options there. And I have named them. You can edit their names, which is great because it's very clear what this is doing. So I would always highly recommend naming things, particularly if you've got colleagues and things like that who are using the system as well and aren't sure, well, what is this doing? They don't have to delve into all the detail there as we go through. So let's go and create the extra 4 steps we need to monitor that email number 1 plus the unsubscribe. So I'll press a new step over here on the top right. Now, what is this relating to is the first question it's asking us. Well, basically, we're monitoring for email 1 being sent to the user. So we want this option, the following message being sent, and I'm going to choose email number 1, or ebook number 1 there. So basically, this automation will start when this message is sent. To which list? It is going to be my recipe club list. And this is important because if we just choose a random list, then this automation will never really run unless you send this email to the random list. But in this case, we're monitoring our recipe club list for actions. And again, that sort of relates to where we were before. Over on the forms view on the left-hand side, we made our form on the recipe club list. So that's the list we want all this activity to be related to, essentially. So, okay, so step 1's done. When ebook number 1 is sent to anyone on the recipe club list, what's the trigger? Well, the first one here is when the contact opens the email, increase their score by 1. So the trigger I want to select here is open, when they open the email. Next step is, okay, great. So when someone does open the email that we've sent to them, what do I want Vision 6 to do? Well, I don't want to send them an email because I already did. I don't want to notify anyone internally or tell anyone about this happening, but I do want to change a value on the contacts record, and that is the lead score. I want to increase it or increment it by, I think the matrix said 1. Yep, increase the score by 1. Click save, and I want this to occur straight away. So I'm going to save that, and that takes me back to here. So essentially, I can move this around as well. It doesn't really matter what order they're in. They'll still work in terms of the order when that you've told it to do, but sometimes visually having it at the top, because it's the first thing that happens, you can have that. I'm just going to rename it. So when they open email 1, increase the lead score by 1. Cool, that sounds good. Let's now create the second step. And this one is going to be, I'll skip this one and come back to it just because this applies to every email. So I'll come back to that one. When the contact views the ebook, increase the score by 3. The same as before, I'm going to choose my recipe club. I'm still looking at email number 1, which is ebook number 1. But this time, instead of opening it, which we've already done, we want to monitor the email for a link click, because they're clicking the link to view ebook number 1. That's that big purple button we had. And now the next question is, okay, great, what link? Well, my ebook's a PDF, so it's going to be this one here. It is a bit strange with all this funny code here, but essentially the main identifier to look for is that they're viewing my ebook PDF file. So it's this PDF here. Cool, okay, so when I send, when the system sends them ebook number 1 and they click the link for the ebook PDF file, what do I want Vision 6 to do? Again, I don't want to send them anything, but I do want to change a value on that contacts record. And this one is where, oh, apologies, I did miss a step here. I need to always set this to my recipe club list. Cool. Now I want to change the value of their lead score to increment by 3, I think it was. I'll check my workflow. Yes, it's 3. And I want to do that immediately. Press save. Again, I can move it to the top and rename it if I want to. Next step. Similarly, again, this is if I'm sending them ebook number 1 or email number 1, it's to my recipe club list. And on this instance, what do I want to do? I want to, when they click on the store link, increase their lead score by 10. So this time again, I'm monitoring the email for them clicking on links. Which link is it? It's the store link. So basically this actually will open up and show you all possible links inside your email, which is great. So you don't have to guess what it is or type it in, and it's the store link here. Again, don't want to send the contact anything, don't want to notify anyone on the sales team that this has happened, although you could, but I do again want to change a record here, a value on their record, lead score. When they do this, increment it by 10 and do that immediately. Press save. Cool. So we've pretty much done everything except this one here. When they unsubscribe from our list, set their lead score to 0. So these are all good. I'm just going to add one more, add a new step. This time we're not doing it based on an email being sent because we want to monitor the whole list for unsubscribed. So I just want to use this top option here. So again, I'm going to monitor my recipe club list. What's the trigger? When they unsubscribe. Great, when they unsubscribe, what do we want to do? I want to change a value, and that is lead score. Instead of increase or decrease, I want to set it to 0. So I'm actually going to clear it out, make it back to 0 again. That way, if they subscribe again, they'll start from 0. And if they do all the actions, their lead score will go up and up and up. Excellent, that's everything done. So one thing just to check there is that when you're in here, make sure these are all turned on, otherwise they won't run. By default, they are on, which is good, as you may have seen. But one other thing you need to do is over here, you'll see that this has a red arrow. So the actual whole nurture series automation is turned off right now. So down the end here, I just need to go to activate to switch it on. So if you're doing any testing, make sure you activate first, which will turn it green, and then go and do your testing, which essentially you can do by subscribing yourself to that list and then see how your interactions affect your lead score. So all you would do is go to lists and forms, find your form. Remember, mine's the recipe club. Here's the form. If you press view form, you can actually fill it in as if you're a real user. Press join or whatever button you've got there, subscribe, join, etc. You'll then now receive the series of emails as long as you have that set up. So we didn't cover the actual sending of the emails today, but you would just create an automation to send email 1 straight away, email 2 after a week, email 3 after 2 weeks, whatever cadence you'd like. And then the automation will automatically kick in as long as it's switched on. Another couple of quick bonus tips that might be of interest. If you want to advise your staff when a lead score reaches a certain number, definitely possible as well. Again, not covered in this particular session. Today's session was just about how to do the lead scoring part, not to configure the emails going out, not to advise staff when something happens, but just to actually configure the lead scoring part. But we do have this article here, which I will send out with the recording as well. And that will take you to this page in our support center, how to create an internal notification email when something occurs. And in this case, that would be when the lead score reaches a certain value or exceeds 10, that kind of thing. So there you can do that as well. Bonus tip number 2 there, to increase engagement further, why not personalize your nurture series with conditional content? So when you're building those 3 emails, in there, you can start to swap out content. So if you know the person is based in Brisbane, then why not have a special block that appears in the email where you could say, invite them to their next in-person demo session that you might be running. Whereas if they're not in Brisbane, you could just send a Zoom link instead where they can join an online demo session, kind of what you're doing now. So that kind of stuff you can do with conditional content. Furthermore, a good example is on my list. They could choose whether they're gluten-free or not. You might remember that was on my form. You can have the article changing in your nurture email. If they're gluten-free, they can see completely different content. So search our support center for conditional content if that is of interest. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. My name's Andy. Thank you very much and have a great day.